Leatherworking for some will be an absolutely amazing profession, while for most it will seem fairly pointless. It's particularly good for tanks because of the fur lining that gives you quite a ridiculous amount of stamina. If your raid's missing a Druid to bring Mark of the Wild or a Paladin to bring Blessing of Kings, then you can provide these also. But do note, these don't require leatherworking to use, so you could just buy them off the auction house. And of course, like all the professions, you can make a nice assortment of item level 200 epics, people to boost their gear score or their item level, however you want to look at it, as quickly as possible before you go into your first knacks. Overall though, talking from a completely selfish perspective, if you want to get the most out of your character, is this wrist enchant, which provides you attack power, spell power or stamina, going to be enough to make it worthwhile you being a leatherworker? We're going to dive into all of the specifics of leatherworking, what you can make, how you can make them, how it progresses throughout the expansions. And when you look at the fur lining, so the actual wrist enchant, when we're looking at it, bear in mind in 3.1 these values were increased. So a lot of the professions went through a lot of balancing mainly to actually be as strong as blacksmithing, getting the extra 2 gem sockets, and then it's quite a strange turn of events where some of them actually became stronger than blacksmithing. Leatherworking's one of them for specific classes. I would say it really fits tanks very well. So particularly, let's say feral druids. These tanks where their biggest concern is just getting a massive health pool. But the extra attack power you get from the wrists is still very similar to that of what you'll get from all the other professions, as is the spell power. The actual gain you're going to get is very similar to that of other professions. We will compare them directly to what enchant you would be using if you wasn't a leather worker to see the exact gains, but we'll get into that soon. Just want to say a quick thank you to all you guys that have joined the channel as a member. It really does help me keep pumping out content. More on how you can support the channel at the end. And one brief plug, Scottejaye.com is now live. That's probably not what it's going to be called long term, but I'm trying to compile a one single resource which is reliable, accurate information. So you could consider the videos I've got on there at the moment even as placeholders, because I want to get as many big brain classes to come in and be authors of written guides, to do audible guides so you can listen to them on Spotify or iTunes when you're driving, and of course YouTube videos as well. And by the way, it's nowhere near finished. I've had it online for 1 day. But leatherworking. So outside of the attack power, which you can put on your bracers, which permanently enchants your bracer to increase attack power by 130, of course this won't stack with an enchant, so it's this over an enchant. Same way that spell power, you get 76 spell power, and for stamina you get a whopping 102 stamina. And this is what I mean, you're getting a big chunk of stamina here. Straight off the bat, if we just compare these to actual enchants, if you're going to put the major stamina on your wrists, which does cost an abyss crystal, which obviously they're going to be slightly more difficult to come across early in the game, and then, you know, as all the epics that drop in heroics are being DE'd, the majority of Nax gears being DE'd, then obviously we'll see abyss crystals all over the place. But to begin with, this would be quite an incredibly expensive enchant, more than likely, but it gives you 40 stamina. The same way if we look at the spell power gives 30 spell power on your wrists, whereas we're going to get a whopping 76 from the fur lining. So if we take that as an example, 46 extra spell power. If you think about, let's say, enchanting, so when we actually look at it in comparison to enchanting, it gives exactly the same. You get 46 additional spell power from leatherworking, you get 23 on each ring as enchanting, so it's directly comparable to enchanting, but arguably enchanting is a lot more useful. There's a lot more things you can do with enchanting outside of just enchanting your rings. And then finally, if we compare the attack power, which you're getting 130 attack power versus 50 attack power if you're going to go for greater assault, so you're getting 80 attack power from this. It's absolutely identical. The only slight downside here is you are locked in to those 3 stats, you know, of your choice, so either spell power, stamina or attack power. Whereas if you're talking jewel crafting or blacksmithing, you've got a bit of room for maneuver. You could go for hit if you needed hit, you could go for raw attack power if you wanted raw attack power, or in most circumstances the primary stat like agility or strength is going to work out better for you. So it does lack a little bit of flexibility, but what it does lack in flexibility does make up for in gold potential if you've got a skinner. Now if you've got a skinner you can make really good gold, and let me show you how. So there's tons of recipes at this guy called Braig Stoutbeard, who's in Dalaran, and he sits just up here in the Mage's Commerce. Later on in the expansion, you can get Arctic Fur from trading in 10 heavy Borean leather. Now, when I say later in the expansion, it's actually in 3.3, so I would guess that this isn't going to be available on the vendor for obvious reasons, because Arctic Fur is a very, very important resource. So Arctic Fur acts as two things. It acts as a currency, let's say, to be able to buy some of these epic 200 eye level recipes, which early on people are probably going to want to get hold of just to get their eye level as high as possible before they walk into Nax. And then the additional way it's used is actually in crafting. So none of these epic recipes actually need Arctic Fur. It's all heavy Borean leather and, you know, certain Eternals. And they also require frozen orbs, which come from the final boss of a heroic dungeon. But other than using the Arctic Fur as a currency to buy these recipes from the vendor, you also need one Arctic Fur to be able to put your enchant on your bracer. And if you're wanting to make yourself some gold to be able to sell the leg enchants, which this is nothing new, let's be honest. We know all about leg enchants with leatherworking, so you can make 55 stamina and 22 agility, you can make 25 attack power and 22 crit rating, and you can make the earthen leg armor, which is 40 resilience and 28 stamina. There are the blue versions as well, but the blue versions do not require Arctic Fur. So as you can see, you're going to want quite a lot of Arctic Fur. You're going to need to get Arctic Fur to be able to buy your epic recipes that you want to then craft and sell. You're going to need Arctic Fur you're going to need one every time you get a bracer upgrade, and if you're wanting to sell some leg enchants or you wanted to make some leg enchants for your friends, then you're going to need Arctic Fur as well. Here's the other one quite juicy benefit of leatherworking. You don't need to make your leg armor. Well, you do. You do. I'll take that back. Let me just show you. You can actually place the 55 stamina and 22 agility leg enchant on your own legs. So this is purely for you. It's soulbound for 2 Jormunga scales. Or for 2 Nerubian Chitin, you can put the 75 attack power and 22 crit, which makes using these leg enchants for you, yourself, incredibly cheap. Let's say you only upgrade your legs once or twice in each phase. It's going to add up in the amount of gold that you're going to save throughout the expansion, especially when you think that the fur linings are not that big of a deal in comparison to everything else. Like we've looked at, there's not that big of a difference between the attack power gain, the spell power gain, or even the stamina gain. When you're comparing it directly to the amount of gain you get from those from other professions. So I'm taking jewel crafting and blacksmithing out where you can actually get more than just those stats, but versus the other professions, it's not actually that bad. So as a druid, being able to enchant, you know, your feral DPS legs and your feral tank legs for practically no cost, and be able to upgrade both of your sets of bracers for, I was about to say practically no cost again, but Arctic Furs are probably going to be quite expensive to begin with, so there will be a bit of cost involved. It is really good. And in the intro, I did mention about being able to make drums, so you can farm Icy Dragon Scales and Heavy Borean Leather, or Jormunga Scales and Heavy Borean Leather to be able to make drums of the wild and drums of Forgotten Kings. Now you might be like, well, no one's going to need those. Actually, we use them more than you would think, because there are certain circumstances where you're doing a 10-man and you haven't got a druid. Why not take some drums? If you've got a level worker in the group who can quickly just craft a set, or you can just go and buy them off the auction house, why not take them? Why, if you've only got one paladin, do without kings? Now I know it's not the full 10% like a proper version of kings, the same way the Mark of the Wild or the drums of the wild are not as good as an actual druid's Mark of the Wild or Gift of the Wild, but it's not far off. And if it means you can take the drums of kings and get bomb or bow and almost as strong as a paladin's Blessing of Kings, why not? Now you do get a couple of capes that you can make, one being a tank cape with dodge and expertise, and the other actually being an agility cape with haste and attack power. And then on the vendor is going to be where you get the majority of your recipes that don't come outside of raids. And really, there's a full blue set for basically anyone that can wear leather or Mao. And this, when I say a PvP set, it's only 187 eye level, but it has resilience on. So if you're going to get straight into PvP as a rogue or as a resto druid or as a shaman or whatever, you can get a full set of this made. Every item will have resilience on, and you'll get a stamina bonus and an additional 50 resilience for having the 6 set bonus. So early on for PvPers, it's actually not too bad if you're wanting to get that big boost of resilience, or even if you're just trying to get the eye level to be able to get into groups for heroics or whatever. You know, 187's decent. You know, to say it's just crafted and only requires level 78, it's better than anything you would have been using from tier 6, for example, even though item level wise it's going to be better. Stat-wise, probably not. And you can also then get some epics a little bit further on the pages, but I think you get where we're going from here. And the same applies as we go through each phase of raid. In Ulduar, you're going to get new recipes drop that you can make. In TOC, you're going to get new recipes drop that you can make. And these recipes that drop in the raids actually do require Arctic fur. So stocking up on Arctic fur quite early, because some of these recipes are going to be really expensive, by the way. They're going to require runed orbs which drop in the raids. And they genuinely are some of the better items you can get before hard modes. So absolutely people are going to want to be getting these crafted. So if you've got big stacks of Arctic fur in phase 1 before phase 2 launches, when Ulduar comes out, you're already in a good place. And you get where I'm going with this. Trial of the Crusader also drops a load more leatherworking recipes which require Arctic furs, and even more Arctic furs this time round. But again, very, very good items that people are going to want crafted. So actually being a leather worker for your guild, for your raid, whatever, there's nothing wrong with that. The benefit that you're going to get personally is decent. Might not be quite as good as dual crafting, because for most classes it won't be. The only class that really springs to mind where this is stronger than dual crafting, but even then you'd pair it with dual crafting, would be a feral tank. And quite honestly, outside of that, that's it. Outside of that, that's it. But that don't make sense, does it? Outside of that, that's it. No, I shouldn't drink when I'm doing videos. But really, that's it. That's everything I would say you need to know about leatherworking. The bonuses you're going to get personally are nice. Saving gold on leg enchants is nice. The gear that you're going to be making throughout the tiers, not necessarily phase 1. Let's be honest, the phase 1 gear, it's alright. You know, people are going to want it, but they don't need it. But still, people will buy it, so you can make some gold. But for leatherworking to really be worthwhile, you do need a skinner. And you're probably not going to want skinning on your main character. So unless you're going skinning leatherworking to begin with and then dropping skinning for something else once you've stocked up on loads of mats, you know, what way round you do these things, entirely up to you, because it's your character, your game, you pay to play it. So don't listen to me, do what you want. Go mining and herbalism. No, don't do that. That's stupid. But anyway, thank you for watching. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, subscribe for loads more Wrath of the Lich King content. Check the website out and roll the outro.
There's lots of ways you can support the channel to keep me here putting out World of Warcraft content and covering all future MMOs. Consider joining the channel as a member. You get access to emotes, everyone will know you're a member when you comment on future videos because you get a nice icon next to your name, and you get access to members only videos, which I'll be putting a lot of on the channel throughout the year. Additionally, there's a Patreon link in the description as well. Thank you for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you on the next one.